Well, good morning. We're here in the kitchen of Alan and Vicky's, the farm on Route 66, and I'm trying to teach some grandkids some things that they might want to do. And what was it you asked to learn while I'm here?
We're making honey taffy.
Have you ever done it?
Yeah, twice.
How did it go?
The first one turned out okay, and the second one I burnt, so it hardened super fast.
That's the learning curve, and you'll find that Grandma isn't very exact, because I have made lots and lots of candy, but I've never used a candy thermometer because I was taught by my grandmas and they didn't have candy thermometers, I don't think, back then. So it is getting to sense what we're going to be doing. Casey, do you mind buttering the pan?
Yeah.
And butter it well. You know that from your... Why do we butter a pan? I'll bet you can address this one, Casey.
So the candy doesn't stick to it after you pour it on here.
Yes, there's nothing stickier than taffy. And so it's really fun to have a taffy pull and let your kids do it. But out of the voice of experience, that's what you would do. Cook it inside, put it on the sheet. It needs cool anyway. Go outside, and then you don't have to scrub the floor so much and stick to it, right? And we will probably be using, I know we'll be using more butter when we go to pull it. We have to butter our hands, and something that my mother always had to wear gloves to do kitchen work. And these are insulated gloves. And I found them the other day. I was so excited. And it's just, they're not thin. They're an insulated glove without a grip. And this is exactly what I learned to do taffy. And it'll be much, much easier. And I know that if you tried it in this, you'd think, Grandma, that's a cinch. So. All right. As all you have to do is equal parts. You can make a huge batch or a small batch, but equal parts of honey and sugar, okay? And I've done lots of taffy, done anything more than 2 to 2, okay? 2 cups of sugar to 2. This is a very workable proportion, 1 to 1. And when kids were trying to do it, we cut it to 1/2 to 1/2. So just put your cup of sugar in, cup of honey, and we're very blessed. I don't know if you watched the video from the farm on Route 66, but they got 55 gallons of this sweet golden stuff for a horse, and we've even been enjoying some at our home. So thank you, whoever it was that purchased that horse.
Yeah, we traded a horse for 55 gallons of honey. That doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't. Not the price of honey. Do you mind? Yeah. Thank you, dear. Now, just barely stir it together, okay? And get it to where it's at least combined and all liquefied. Then we're going to put it on, and you start it on a medium heat. Now, if you want to see, we'll show you what it looks like in the different stages. But when it gets closer, you're going to be cooking it to a hard crack stage. If you have a candy thermometer, it's easy. If your candy thermometer is exact, if you've tested it. But a hard crack stage is where you have to go, and just beyond the hard crack stage is burnt. But it needs to be hard, or otherwise your taffy is going to be really chewy. And personally, I like taffy that will just crunch and almost melt in your mouth like cotton candy. So that's what we're going to try to achieve today. It's starting to boil, and I'm going to turn it to medium. In the meanwhile, Casey had put about this much water and a few more ice cubes, And the ice cubes will have just chilled the water sufficiently. It'll be ready to test it when it finishes cooking. See how it's starting to really bubble high? Remember, if you're using a candy thermometer, definitely that's easiest. That's what you're trying to achieve, is a hard crack. You take it to a hard crack, remove it immediately, pour it on your buttered pan. Now I can just tell that it's not going to, we don't want this to be cold when it hits it, so we'll put it in here. It's going to take us a little while, so we're at what elevation, do you know?
5,500 feet.
5,500 feet, so we're at a higher elevation, and so that's the way you see whether or not somebody knows what they're doing, is change elevations and weather temperatures when you're making candy, believe me. This recipe, Casey, works for, like, if you wanted molasses taffy, it'd be equal parts sugar and molasses. Honey taffy, equal parts. Now, I made a vinegar taffy when I was a kid. I guess I was an entrepreneur, but I made some and took it to share with my friends, and they kept saying, bring some more of that, we'll buy it from you. So I, in junior high, started making some batches every now and then, and would take it. That's and awesome. They would purchase it, and it felt good to have some money in my pocket. So. Okay, now, first I can tell you, it will not test to a hard crack, because when it gets to a hard crack, it's going to start stringing, okay? See, you can see that little hair, Casey?
Yeah.
After it drips, there's a little hairy looking thing. That's what I'm talking about, a string. And so there's no reason to mess up the ice water here. You see how the bubbles are still slow and getting a little larger, and the foam is leaving, and the thing is darkening. I don't see it stringing, but like I said, I'm at a different elevation, and I'm going to test it. See? There. Casey, do you know how you would test for a hard crack?
Eat it.
Eat it? That would be the test if I were a kid that I would go for. But right here, try to crack that off of there. See? It snapped beautifully. We're at a hard crack, okay? Okay. Okay, look at this. It's still a little warm. It's like taffy. I'm going to pull it out here. Cool it again. Then look. See, it's just a brittle break. And Casey did a wonderful job, but it always sticks. So I'm going to put this right in the middle of where we're going to begin to pour it. And the reason that I did not stir it was because by stirring, you can introduce sugar crystals to it. And I like to let it drip and get as much as I can, but you don't want to scrape the pan. Now, we have lived in communities where it's snowing outside when I made the taffy. And if it's too slow to cool, you can put it where it's in a cooler spot. Take it outside, but you don't want moisture to get to it. And as it begins to cool, see these edges? See how they're holding their shape?
Yeah.
It's not quite cool enough to do it yet, but also our marble countertops hold heat. So if you'll move it to a different spot on the marble countertop, you'll get cool. It'll be like putting your chocolate on marble to temper it. So that's what you do. Is it starts to cool, then you bring it up and do what you can't do with your hands at this stage. And the outside cools fastest, so you bring it into the center. You're just doing a temporary pull with a fork. That's what you're doing, trying to do it. So go for it, sweetheart. That's perfect to bring it up like that. Then it begins to cool evenly. Well, Casey, should I be brave enough to try it with my insulated gloves, even though it hasn't happened for probably, I've been married for 52 years, almost 53, and so probably been a good 55 years since I have used these gloves. Should I be brave enough to try it?
I think you should.
All right.
So you've done it barehanded. My mom has the toughest hands. So that's what you're saying. You haven't.
Oh, yes.
You've done it. You just haven't done it with.
Most of you won't have these gloves, and you may not want to even try to find them. You just let it cool to a greater degree. And then I will show you some secrets on how you're supposed to do it if you want it. Now there's if you can get it to the texture of a Jolly Rancher, if we poured that out and scored it, it would almost be there right now. It's just a hardtack candy. But taffy, you're trying to put air into it. And you don't want to grab it and push the air out. You don't want to twist it. You just barely touch the edges and fold it and fold it. And each time you fold it, as it begins to harden, it's entrapping the air. And so it makes it just delightfully airy, and I think you will like it better that way.
My mom would let us always pull a piece, and it turned out like a Jolly Rancher, and hers ends up looking like the most beautiful goldy locks you can. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's real fun with honey because it turns just like it's spun gold. It's really awesome. Oh man, I remember why I used these. This is wonderful. Right now I would be dancing if I were doing it barehanded. To make it easier to moisten my fingers, I'm going to put some butter there so I can come back to it, okay? All right. And you definitely do it here over the pan to begin with, because it doesn't, you're doing some very hot maneuvering, and you got to be able to catch it as it, and you don't want it to wind up on the floor. So if it winds back up on your pan, that's just fine. That's normal. You see how it's beginning to lighten some in color. Okay, so take the wax paper and lay a piece right there for us, okay? Would you like to butter your fingers now that I've got it started?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that. That'll be perfect. As soon as you butter your fingers, I'm going to cut you off a piece, okay?
Okay.
And only touch the ends if you can. Now see, mine's really hot. You're being braver than Grandma.
Oh, this is hot too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's very, very warm. Whoa, I've got wimpy in my old age. That's hot. Don't you need to lay yours down?
It's not as hot anymore.
The smaller batches cool a little faster than the large ones are, right?
Yeah.
But see how golden it's getting? And see how I'm not twisting it? It just goes, you just fold it. You're folding that air in there to make it so that it will catch all the air you can.
That looks pretty cool. That's neat. Casey, it's looking good, girl.
You're doing amazing. Now, Casey, I'm not paying attention. The way you tell when you bend it and it starts to make wrinkles in the thing, yours is about there. Get it as nice as you can get it, and then lay it on the thing and take the knife and begin to score it. But if you don't pull it long enough, the air will all ooze out as it cools. And if you pull it too long, it begins to get stringy on you.
So is hers ready to put on the parchment paper then? And then lay out some more for Grandma, because hers is going to be ready here in just a second. Okay, so you did good. And you know what she means by score it?
Yeah.
See when I bend it right in the bend, see how it's starting to hold those wrinkles?
Yeah.
A little bit like Grandma Adeline is. I'm beginning to hold those wrinkles. And when it does, hold them sufficiently. See how it's right there, see?
Mm-hmm.
You know that it's just about there. But if you can take it to the point that it doesn't go stringy on you, see that? It will cool sufficiently to hold all of the air that you've put into it. See right there? Yeah. I don't know if my description of it is making sense to you, but I promise you it's something fun, and your kids will eat it no matter how you do it. But if you can get it to the point that it will hold the air. Okay, here we go. Alan, put your finger right there.
I was always good at this job.
And then I'm gonna go down and elongate it a little bit more. All right. Hold your finger here, Casey, please. Then I will go like this. And there. And we got it.
Whoa.
Okay. Would you grab another knife real quick?
Perfection.
Uh-huh.
Look at that golden honey taffy. And you score it. Why? What's the purpose here?
Because when it fully cools, then you can just barely hit it with your knife and it'll pop. And it won't, and it'll pop on those lines. Now we'll let that dry and we'll show you how it will do it.
Casey, yours looks amazing also.
It does, look.
And
Look
I'm
at
gonna be eating on this
Look
one.
at how this just slivers. Do you see? She did amazing. Try that, Casey. Mmm. That's wonderful. You did a great job.
Thank you.
And look, can you zoom in and see the air that's in that little piece? You see it?
Oh, that's
You
awesome.
got it? How the strands stayed? Wonderful, Casey.
This is about like how you've made it in the past, right?
I don't do this good.
You didn't do this good? So Grandma's obviously showed you how to do it just right, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, Casey's big brother just came in and he's like, I'm drooling at the mouth. I'm gonna grab some of this.
That's good.
As good as you remember?
Yeah.
Dad, you want some? Come on over here.
Sure, that'd be great.
Grandpa was hiding over here.
Yeah. I didn't want to muddy up the video. That looks great, doesn't it?
Isn't that amazing?
And your little stuff is just the right, all the air through there.
Casey, you've got it down. This is only your third time, and heavens, you might come home with pockets full of money now. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you'll try it. I think that no matter how it turns out, you and your kids or your friends will have an enjoyable time. See you later.